Hawaii sunsets, the sound of waves hitting the shore, and a red Ferrari slicing through the road like it owns the island. For an entire generation, Magnum P.I. wasn't just a TV show. It was a vibe, a lifestyle, and a weekly reminder that the coolest detective on television drove one of the hottest cars ever built. But here's the twist. The Ferrari 308 GTS you saw on screen wasn't the perfect Italian supercar you imagine. Far from it. The truth behind Magnum's ride is packed with hidden modifications, mechanical shortcuts, continuity mistakes, and bizarre behind-the-scenes decisions Ferrari probably never wanted you to know. From dummy Ferraris with no engines, to stunt cars that weren't even real Ferraris at all, to a hero car that vanished for years, this iconic red 308 hides more secrets than any case Magnum ever solved. So buckle up, because today, you're about to discover 20 weird facts that will change the way you look at Magnum's legendary Ferrari forever. Number 20. Ferrari didn't want their car in the show. Before Magnum ever became the cool detective cruising across Hawaii in a red Ferrari, the production team faced an unexpected roadblock. Ferrari didn't want anything to do with the show. At that time, the company fiercely protected its brand image and believed television was too casual and potentially damaging to the prestige of their cars. Executives worried about continuity issues, stunt damage, and the possibility that the car might appear unreliable on screen. When the producers insisted, Ferrari still refused official support. So the showrunners took matters into their own hands. They contacted private owners in California and Hawaii, renting and borrowing 308s under the radar. These owners often had no idea their cars would become part of a global TV phenomenon. Ironically, Ferrari's refusal created a legend. Magnum P.I. ended up boosting 308 sales dramatically in the U.S., even influencing what many Americans thought a Ferrari should look like. What Ferrari feared ended up becoming one of the greatest marketing wins they never planned. Number 19. The first 308 wasn't red. Everyone associates Magnum's Ferrari with that bright, camera-ready shade of red. But the very first 308 the show received wasn't red at all. It arrived in a darker, more muted factory color that simply didn't work under Hawaii's blazing sun. During test shots, the car blended into the background, losing the hero presence a main character's car needed. The reflections weren't crisp enough, the body lines didn't pop, and the overall look lacked the energy the producers wanted. So, in a move that would define the show's entire visual identity, the crew decided to repaint the car in Rosso Corsa, the iconic Ferrari red. The newly painted 308 transformed instantly on camera. It looked faster, brighter, and more alive, practically glowing against the tropical scenery. What's funny is that this wasn't done for authenticity. It was completely for the camera. Yet that decision is the reason audiences worldwide still picture Magnum's Ferrari as the ultimate red sports car of the 1980s. Number 18. Tom Selleck was too tall for the cabin. Tom Selleck stood 6'4", 193, which is far beyond what the Ferrari 308's cabin was designed for. In early filming tests, Selleck's head kept hitting the targa bar, and his knees were pressed awkwardly against the dashboard. The cramped position looked uncomfortable on screen and completely clashed with Magnum's laid-back Hawaiian charm. To solve this, the production team basically had to redesign the driver's area. They removed padding from the seat, lowered the seat rails, adjusted the steering column angle, and even modified the floor pan slightly to gain a few crucial centimeters of legroom. In some close-up shots, Selleck wasn't even sitting in a real 308 seat. They used a custom low-profile prop seat just so his head would appear below the roofline. Without these modifications, Magnum might never have been associated with a Ferrari at all because Selleck simply didn't fit. The 308 didn't choose Magnum. Magnum forced the 308 to adapt to him. Number 17. Multiple 308s were used. Every season. Most viewers assumed Magnum drove the same Ferrari throughout the entire series, but the truth is far more complicated. Every season, the production used multiple 308s, each with slightly different ages, mileages, and mechanical conditions. Some were hero cars reserved for beauty shots and close-ups. Others were used strictly for driving scenes, and a few unfortunate ones became designated stunt cars, often receiving the harshest treatment. Because the cars weren't identical, eagle-eyed fans today can spot the inconsistencies: mismatched bumpers, different wheel finishes, small changes in interior stitching, or even height differences caused by worn suspension. In certain episodes, the switch between cars happens within the very same scene. One angle shows a pristine 308, and the next reveals a much more tired one. This patchwork approach wasn't laziness, it was survival. Shooting in Hawaii with constant sun, salt, and humidity wore down the cars quickly. Using several 308s at once was the only way to keep Magnum's ride camera-ready week after week. Number 16. Some 308s had interior parts removed. The Ferrari 308 GTS has a famously tight cabin, which quickly became a problem for a TV crew needing space for cameras, microphones, and lighting. To solve this, the production team quietly removed several interior components on certain cars. Panels behind the seats, center console padding, and sometimes even the glove box were taken out to make room for wiring and compact camera rigs. These modified interiors allowed the camera operators to capture clean profile shots of Magnum driving without awkward reflections or equipment blocking the frame. For the audience, the illusion was seamless. But in reality, some 308s used on set would have looked shockingly bare if you opened the door. Because TV episodes were shot out of order, continuity became tricky. A car with a missing panel might appear in a close-up, only for the next shot to suddenly show a fully intact interior. Most fans never noticed, but once you know what to look for, you can't unsee it. Number 15. Each season's 308 looks slightly different. Although the Ferrari 308 looked consistent at first glance, every season featured subtle but noticeable differences. Small variations came from wear and tear, availability of replacement parts, and the simple fact that different cars were used interchangeably. Ride height would shift depending on suspension condition. Exhaust tips varied between seasons. Even paint tone changed slightly due to sun exposure or quick resprays done between shoots. Some seasons featured a 308 with a slightly more aggressive stance, making it look faster and more modern. Others used an older chassis where the suspension sagged, giving the car a softer, almost touring car look. These differences weren't intentional. They were the unavoidable result of filming under Hawaii's harsh climate, where UV exposure and salty air age cars rapidly. For fans who watch closely, these visual inconsistencies become a fun, hidden game, spotting which season a particular 308 belongs to, just from a quick glance at the stance or trim. It's yet another reminder that Magnum's Ferrari wasn't one car. It was many. Number 14. The show mixed carb and injection models. Most casual viewers assumed Magnum drove the same type of Ferrari 308 throughout the series, but the production quietly used both carbureted and fuel-injected versions depending on which cars were available at the time of filming. Early seasons featured the classic, carbureted 308 GTS, known for its raw sound and sharper throttle response. Later seasons, however, sometimes swapped in the 308 GTSI models, which looked nearly identical from the outside, but behaved differently on the road. These differences created subtle inconsistencies. Sound effects in some episodes didn't match the car physically seen on screen. Certain acceleration shots felt slower, while others seemed unnaturally punchy. Even the exhaust note captured in real audio varied, depending on which version was being used that week. To the casual viewer, everything blended seamlessly. But for Ferrari enthusiasts, spotting these swaps has become a fun, detective game decades later. Another layer of mystery hidden beneath Magnum's effortless cool. Number 13. Some cars didn't have a working engine. It may surprise many fans, But not every Ferrari seen on Magnum P.I. could actually drive. Some 308s on set were beauty cars, vehicles without working engines, transmissions, or sometimes even fuel systems. These cars were used strictly for close-ups, interior shots, and scenes where Magnum was getting in or out of the vehicle. By stripping out heavy mechanical components, the crew could roll the car more easily, maneuver it for precise framing, and position it quickly between takes. This allowed them to shoot tight cabin scenes without worrying about heat, fumes, or unexpected mechanical failures. In a few behind-the-scenes photos, you can spot crew members literally pushing a Ferrari into position. And during some episodes, a non-running 308 was used for shots that required perfectly steady camera movement, something almost impossible with a running engine. It's one of those odd realities of TV production. The coolest car on the show sometimes didn't move an inch under its own power. Number 12. A 308 was modified for off-road scenes. Ferrari never intended the 308 GTS to tackle rough Hawaiian terrain, but Magnum P.I. occasionally needed the car to chase suspects off the main roads. To make this possible, the crew discreetly modified one of the production cars with a slightly raised suspension, beefier shocks, and reinforced underbody panels. These adjustments allowed the 308 to survive bumps, uneven pavement, and light dirt road action without suffering catastrophic damage. Of course, it still wasn't a rally car, so the team carefully selected angles that made the car look like it was handling rougher terrain than it actually was. In reality, many off-road scenes were shot on mildly rough parking lots or roads disguised with strategically placed dirt and foliage. What's most fascinating is that Ferrari had no idea this modified 308 existed. If they had known their elegant Italian sports car was being used like an off-road chase vehicle, they might have had a heart attack. But for viewers, the illusion worked beautifully, giving Magnum's Ferrari an unexpected versatility rarely seen in exotic cars. Number 11. High-speed shots used a tow rig. Many of the high-speed driving scenes in Magnum P.I. weren't filmed with the Ferrari moving under its own power at all. Instead, the production often used a tow rig, a large pickup or camera truck fitted with a front-mounted towing bar, pulling the 308 along the road. This technique gave the crew perfect control over speed, stability, and camera movement, allowing actors to focus on delivering lines without worrying about driving. Using a tow rig also ensured safety during scenes on tight Hawaiian roads where the slightest mistake could have damaged the car or caused an accident. And because the Ferrari's suspension and engine weren't working, the shot remained smooth and cinematic. The audience saw Magnum flying down the road, but in reality, he might have been cruising at a calm 20 mph behind a camera truck. This method is still used in Hollywood today, but Magnum P.I. relied on it heavily, especially in episodes filmed on winding cliffs or narrow coastal routes. Number 10. Several 308s got damaged on set. Hawaii's rough roads, constant sun exposure, and demanding filming schedules meant the cars took frequent damage, far more than viewers ever realized. Minor bumper scrapes, bent suspension components, cracked fiberglass panels, and burnt clutches were common occurrences during production. Some of the worst damage came from simple mistakes: a mistimed braking cue, a slippery patch of sand, or a camera truck stopping too abruptly. Because Ferrari parts were expensive and not easily sourced in Hawaii, the crew often fixed cosmetic damage overnight, using improvised materials. In several behind-the-scenes stories, mechanics recalled using body filler and quick spray paint jobs just to make the car look presentable for next morning's shoot. The show made the 308 look invincible on screen, but off-camera, it was a constant battle to keep the cars in shape. Maintaining Magnum's signature ride became a full-time job for the production's small but dedicated mechanical team. Number 9. One 308 had a small electrical fire. Among the many 308s used on the series, one car developed a small electrical fire during a nighttime setup. The intense humidity in Hawaii often caused wiring harnesses to corrode, and on one unlucky evening, a faulty ground connection sparked behind the dashboard. Smoke filled the cabin during setup, causing the crew to scramble and disconnect the battery before the damage spread. Fortunately, the fire was contained quickly and didn't destroy the car, but it left scorch marks and melted insulation that had to be repaired overnight. The incident became a quiet legend among the crew because they had to continue filming the next day without letting producers, or Ferrari, find out the extent of the damage. The repaired car appeared in several later episodes, and most viewers never knew anything had happened. Only crew members remembered the night they nearly roasted a Ferrari 308 while prepping a simple dialogue scene. Number 8. Some stunts used fiberglass replicas. Not every wild stunt in Magnum P.I. was performed with a real Ferrari. When scenes required risky maneuvers, sharp turns on gravel, sudden jumps, or potential impacts, the production relied on lightweight fiberglass replicas of the 308. These replicas were built on inexpensive donor chassis and sculpted to match the shape of the Ferrari as closely as possible. At a distance or in quick cuts, they were nearly indistinguishable from the real car. Using replicas allowed the crew to push limits without risking a $40,000, $50,000 Ferrari, a huge cost in the 80s. Some of these stunt cars had simplified interiors, cheap wheels, and basic paint jobs. Others had reinforced bumpers or modified suspensions so they could survive rough landings. What's impressive is how seamlessly the show blended real Ferraris with these fiberglass stand-ins. Viewers saw Magnum driving like a hero. Meanwhile, the production team saw stunt setups where the Ferrari weighed half as much and cost 1/10 the price. Number 7. The engine sound was dubbed from another Ferrari. The growling engine roar fans associate with Magnum's Ferrari often wasn't the sound of a real 308 GTS at all. The production team discovered early on that the 308's actual exhaust note didn't always record well, especially in windy Hawaiian locations or when the car was being towed. So they borrowed audio from other Ferraris, sometimes even from larger V8 or V12 engines, to create a richer, more dramatic sound. This overdub became the signature voice of Magnum's car. In some episodes, the sound mix used deeper tones that didn't match the smaller displacement of the 308. Enthusiasts who listen carefully can detect moments where the engine revs don't sync perfectly with the gear shifts shown on screen. Still, the enhanced sound worked beautifully on TV. It made the Ferrari feel faster, more powerful, and more heroic, exactly the vibe the show wanted. Number 6. The footage was speed up for action scenes. Some of the fastest-looking Ferrari moments in Magnum P.I. weren't achieved by sheer engine power. They were created in the editing room. To enhance excitement, editors often increased the playback speed of driving shots by 10–20%. This subtle boost made the car appear to accelerate harder, corner more aggressively, and cover distance quicker than it actually did. The trick worked especially well during chase scenes filmed on narrow Hawaiian roads. The real 308 was fast, but not fast enough to deliver the cinematic intensity the directors wanted while staying safe for actors and crew. Speeding up the footage allowed them to maintain complete control on set while still giving viewers the adrenaline rush of a high-speed pursuit. You can spot this technique by watching the scenery closely. Palm trees whip by a little too smoothly, or background cars seem to accelerate unnaturally. But most viewers never noticed. The illusion of speed became part of Magnum's signature style, making the Ferrari feel like a true TV legend. Number 5. The 308 was accidentally replaced in some episodes. Most viewers never noticed, but throughout Magnum P.I., the Ferrari 308 occasionally changed between shots, sometimes even within the same episode. Because multiple cars were used simultaneously, the production often grabbed whichever 308 was closest, fueled, or camera-ready at that moment. This created unintentional swaps. A car with a slightly different ride height might appear in one angle, only for the next cut to show a cleaner, newer-looking 308. In a few episodes, the differences are surprisingly obvious to today's fans. Mismatched wheels, variations in bumper trim, or small dents suddenly disappearing. These weren't continuity mistakes born of carelessness. They were the byproduct of a hectic filming schedule in Hawaii, where unpredictable weather and constant location changes forced the crew to move quickly. Back then, viewers watched on small CRT televisions, making inconsistencies nearly invisible. But today, thanks to HD restorations and streaming platforms, eagle-eyed fans can spot these accidental swaps almost instantly, turning them into a hidden Easter egg hunt for Ferrari enthusiasts. Number 4. Camera angles made the car look wider. One reason Magnum's Ferrari looks so muscular on screen is thanks to clever cinematography. Directors frequently used low-angle shots, wide lenses, and side profiles that exaggerated the 308's width and stance. These choices gave the car a more aggressive, imposing presence, making it appear faster and more powerful than the very compact, real-world 308 actually was. In reality, the 308 is a relatively small sports car, but by shooting close to the ground, letting sunlight hit the curves at sharp angles, and positioning the car slightly off-center in the frame, the crew created a visual illusion of a broader, more dramatic body shape. For audiences, this became the definitive look of the 308, sleek, wide, and cinematic. Many fans who later saw a real 308 in person were shocked at how much smaller the car appeared. The show didn't just film the Ferrari, it enhanced it, shaping how an entire generation perceived this iconic Italian design. Number 3. Continuity errors are everywhere. Because Magnum P.I. was filmed rapidly and often out of sequence, continuity errors involving the Ferrari are sprinkled all over the series. Scratches that appear in one shot mysteriously vanish in the next. Seats switch between worn and pristine. The license plate occasionally changes. Even the arrangement of interior trim pieces shifts from episode to episode. These inconsistencies weren't the result of poor craftsmanship. They reflect the challenges of filming in hot, humid, and unpredictable Hawaiian conditions. Cars were constantly being repaired, cleaned, repainted, or swapped between scenes. A Ferrari that had just endured a rainy chase sequence might be replaced moments later with a beauty car prepared hours earlier. Modern fans enjoy spotting these continuity quirks, especially because the show itself had such a relaxed, fun-loving tone. They've become part of the charm. And thanks to HD remasters, these once invisible details now jump out like a hidden layer of storytelling, evidence of the creative chaos behind one of TV's most beloved cars. Number 2. A hero. Car disappeared for years after filming. Among the multiple Ferraris used in Magnum P.I., one particular 308, often referred to by fans as the hero car, mysteriously vanished after the series ended. This was the car used for the cleanest close-ups, iconic sunset shots, and promotional photos. When the show wrapped, it didn't go to auction, wasn't placed into storage, and didn't resurface in collector circles. For years, its whereabouts were completely unknown. Some crew members believed it was quietly sold off to a private buyer who purposely kept it out of public view. Others suspected it was shipped off the islands in rough condition after suffering cumulative filming wear. A persistent rumor claimed it sat for years in a storage unit on Oahu, covered in dust, almost forgotten. The truth only resurfaced decades later, when a car matching the hero vehicle's unique details, seat stitching, aftermarket mirror mounts, and slight paint corrections, was identified by Ferrari enthusiasts online. Its rediscovery became a mini-event within the Magnum fan community, proving that even legendary TV cars can vanish like a detective story waiting to be solved. Number 1. One Magnum 308 sold for an insane auction price. While several Ferraris from Magnum P.I. circulated privately for years, one of the screen-used 308s eventually surfaced at a high-profile auction, and the final price shocked even seasoned collectors. Despite the car showing signs of wear from filming and lacking full documentation, the nostalgia factor was irresistible. bidders weren't just buying a Ferrari, they were buying a piece of 1980s television history, a symbol of Hawaiian sunsets and the swagger of Tom Selleck. The car ultimately sold for a jaw-dropping sum far above typical 308 market value, proving the power of pop culture over traditional valuation. Collectors described it as owning the world's coolest TV personality on four wheels. What's fascinating is how much the show elevated the 308's legacy. Before Magnum P.I, the 308 was simply a mid-tier Ferrari. After the show, it became an icon, cemented forever in the minds of fans. That massive auction price didn't just reflect a car, it reflected an era. Magnum's Ferrari wasn't just a car on a television show, it became a symbol of an entire era. It captured the spirit of 1980s adventure, sun-drenched freedom, and that unmistakable Hawaiian swagger. Every scratch, every continuity mistake, every stunt replica, and every hidden modification only added more character to the legend. What makes the story of this 308 so special is that it was never meant to be perfect. It was a working car on a living set, adapting, breaking, changing, disappearing, reappearing. Just like Magnum himself, it carried a few scars, but that only made it more iconic. For millions of viewers, the Ferrari 308 GTS wasn't just the detective's car, it was the show. And even decades later, the legacy remains. Today, seeing a 308 on the road instantly brings back the sunsets, the chases, the humor, and that timeless theme music. Magnum didn't choose an exotic car. He chose a legend. And that legend continues to roar long after the camera stopped rolling. If you enjoyed discovering the hidden stories behind Magnum's legendary Ferrari, tell me which fact surprised you the most. And if there's another iconic TV or movie car you want me to break down next, drop your suggestion in the comments. I'm always listening. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next deep dive into the cars that shaped film and television history.